Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to the Winning Drive. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the young prodigy, also a lifetime Longhorn, CJ Vogel, who's live there in the ATL. We'll get to that in just a second. Also joined by our coach, former high school football coach at Bernie Capel, Brownwood, Rotan, Belton, also played college football at Abilene Christian, coached there as well, and was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head coaches. It is our own coach, Bob Shipley, and you can catch his work these days at shipleyranches.com. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
It's all good, man. We gathered for the Shipley Christmas. We hadn't had our Christmas yet. We're at Jordan's house in Burnett, Texas. I'm up in his office, and he'll be joining us a little later in the show.
Nice.
And maybe a grandkid or two. I'm not real. I hope they don't come up here, but it's a fun day. Fun day here with the Shipleys finally getting together and having our little Christmas.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, whenever you get it done, it don't matter. Christmas is whatever the spirit hits you. Still got the spirit, got all the family there together. Happy for you, Coach. That's good stuff.
11 grandkids, 8 and under tonight, baby. It's on.
It's a blessing right there. 11 of them. Hold on. Give me the youngest and the oldest. How old are the youngest? The youngest
is Jackson's son, Stone. He's 8.
Okay.
And the youngest is my baby, Addie Jane. She has a little boy named Shiloh, and he's about 6 months old. So we're from 6 months to 8.
Wow.
And 9 of them in between.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure
they crazy. Kind of nice to be up here, actually. Get away from all that craziness down there.
What's your grandpa nickname? What is it again?
Babo.
That's it. Babo.
Yeah. Coach, this is going to be the longest show we've ever had. You're just going to keep telling stories. Get yourself some quiet, huh?
Hey, I don't mind.
Hey, I know. But I got some stories. I got some stories for Arizona State game too, baby. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Now, we'll get into that, of course.
Oh, yeah.
We got a lot to get into because CJ has boots on the ground. He's there in Atlanta getting ready for a Texas matchup against Arizona State. So he was there for the media availabilities. Also, he was there to watch a little bit of practice. They had kind of a media window for practice. So we'll get CJ's thoughts about that. And, of course, we'll continue to preview and break down Texas, Arizona State, give you guys our thoughts about that matchup. But first, let's start. Let me just say this about Arizona State because now, multiple times now during, this, couple of weeks here we've had to cover this matchup between Texas and Arizona State, there's been a little bit of bulletin board material coming from the Arizona State side. Now, initially we had the Sam Levitt comment where he says, hey, he wants to go out there and prove that he's the better quarterback, all right, on the field, which, by the way, honestly, guys, that's just a quiet part out loud. Every player believes that, and every player within their own group is saying that. You don't usually say it with the media, but every player, if there's a player of the same position that plays the same position as you, and they are considered highly touted or they're considered to be a much better player than you want to upstage them. You want to show them up. That's just the competitive nature in you. So that's not a shock that he feels that way. It is a little bit of a surprise that he would say it out loud. And Cam Scatterboo, who's been on the record already this season saying he believes he's the best running back in college football. So he's a very confident guy, and he should be. Over 1,500 yards rushing, 2,000 all-purpose yards. He is a beast, and the Longhorns will their number one assignment is trying to figure out a way to corral him. He told ESPN recently in one of the media windows, boom, there you have it right there. Quote, there's nobody out there that can stop me. What he said today at a media availability went on to say they continue to keep saying that people are going to try to stop me. There's nobody out there that can stop me. We played in 13 games, and I've been the target on each one, so I'm not too worried. We're going to play our game and play ball and see what happens. If they're studying hard, there's a reason. I have full respect for them because they understand what they're playing against. And that's why I love playing in games like this, because they constantly look at me as a threat. And that's something I've always wanted to be. And if I'm a threat on a football field against an SEC team that was the runner-up to win the conference, then I think I'm in a pretty good position. All right. Love it. I got to tell you, I'm not going to lie, man. I don't want to like this young man, but damn it, I do. I don't want to like Arizona State's guys, but I do. They got some swagger. They got that dog in them, as they would say, CJ. They seem to have that dog in them, and they don't care who knows it. They don't care who knows it.
No, it's a collection of guys that have kind of been written off, right? It's a collection of guys that weren't the highest recruited, maybe are on, number 2 or 3, and Salty Q. It absolutely is a bold move. We saw the last couple of times that players have called out the Texas defense specifically. Remember the Iowa State offensive lineman and what happened there? Of course, Ollie Gordon had some comments about going into the Big 12 championship game a year ago. One thing I would not do personally is call out the Texas defense, but Rod, I'm with you. And look, we've talked about the Sam Levitt comments and saying he wants to be the best quarterback in this game. And I get it, but that's kind of how these guys are wired because look, Scatterboo had to go the JUCO route. You look at the 6 or 7 guys from Texas that were on the Texas roster beforehand and moved over. All of these guys are on stop 2 or 3. They've been counted out before, if not twice, right? And that's kind of the way that you have to approach, playing in a big game like this. And look, I love Kenny Dillingham. The more that I listen to him talk, the more that I understand that he's a coach that gets it. And coach specifically, you can talk about it in the sense that your team kind of undertakes the personality and identity of your head coach. And that's a guy who it's a put up or shut up kind of conversation. And I really enjoy listening to him talk. And with the way that Scatterboo and Levitt have been, kind of going about the build up to this game, you got to believe that the rest of the team is building off of that and believes very much the same that, we're here for a reason. We came to compete and we're going to try to win this football game if it's the last thing that they do. I appreciate it. I like it.
Yeah, well, I like confidence, but I like quiet confidence. Keep your mouth shut. Act like you've been in the end zone before when you score. All that old school stuff. That's me. I'm old school. I tell you what, I coached a guy at Abilene Christian who wound up being a very, very successful WWF, WWE wrestler, John Layfield. He went by Bradshaw, JBL. He's one of the acolytes. I think he's actually won the title more than anybody else, but he was what do they call him? He was a heel. He was the bad guy. He was always a bad guy. But I coached him at Abilene Christian, and he was a first-team All-American for us. And the first play of he's a great athlete. The first play, played left tackle. The first play of every game, he would spit up a hawker on the defensive lineman he was going against, on his hand, the first play of every game. And I'm like, you're stupid. The guy may not even want to be here today. He may not want to go hard, but all of a sudden you're going to get his best all game long. He goes, I want his best. I said, I don't want his best. You're not that good. Don't get, but every time. And then we play against, what was his name? Randall, played Texas A&I, was all pro for years and years and years. Anyway, we play against him and he had a career game. I think we made him an All-American and a first-round draft pick that game. But, don't give your opponent any reason to play any harder than he's already going to play. Come on, man.
You talking about John Randall, coach?
John Randall, Texas A&I. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we made him an All-American at Abilene.
He spit on John Randall's hand?
He spit on his hand.
Oh,
everybody he played against, the first play of the game, he spits a big old loogie on their hand.
Oh, man. John Randall? Oh, he probably – man. Yep, I could see that. Because that dude has something wrong with him. And he's a very confident man. And he's made millions of dollars in his career, pissing people off and doing what he does best. But, oh, gosh, on Friday. Why make it hard on yourself? Golly, Cam, you don't want to make this Texas defense mad. I'm sorry. They don't mess around. They don't flinch. This Texas defense does not flinch. You give him that kind of motivation, my quarterback and running back. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna tell you. Arizona State may upset us, but that's just not my style. I'm sorry. No, I agree. I old school. I'm with you, coach. You know what I mean? I like to do my trash talking actually on the field, not before the game and all that kind of stuff. That's not really how I operate. But I do appreciate it because I gotta say they're hyping up. It's like they're hyping up the fight. It's like to me, it's almost like some WWE promos going on here.
Yeah,
Right?
I know.
I don't. They might think that they're getting a cut of that NIL as if it was a pay-per-view, Rob.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like you're not getting a cut of this, man. Like, what you getting a cut of the ratings? Like, are they maybe they think this. Listen, when was the last time Arizona State got this much hype? Let's think about that period as a program.
Maybe when Herm got the job. It was
big. Yeah, that was big. Getting an NFL coach was big. You're right, Coach. That was big. That was a good time to shine.
It's been a minute otherwise.
But it's been a minute, yeah, right. And then that was fleeting, right? The Hearn thing that kind of faded pretty quickly. Maybe they figure, hey man, we ain't gonna get this shot again for a while. You know what I mean? Let's get people need to have eyes on Arizona State, and we believe we're gonna play well. So you know what? Let's gamble. We're gonna play well. We're gonna talk enough trash where the eyeballs will be on us. And if we don't, that'll be a bit of a joke. You'll become a joke rather than you'll become the punchline of the joke. But I like their swagger. I've watched the film. I like their game, and I like their swagger. I do think they'll suffer the consequences of that bulletin board material. But it is nice fight hype. I ain't gonna lie. Like now, they got me excited about the matchup. I mean, no doubt. See, but let's get into it. We got my man Stevie Lee. He's coming on to join us. He always joins us on Mondays. Curtis for our good friends over at Hard Grove Roofing. So let's not waste any time. Thank you to our friends over at Hard Grove Roofing. See, he's excited too. They got him hyped. All right, hardgroveroofing.com. Go check them out. They can trust me, folks. They are the most reliable and trusted brand when it comes to anything and all things related to your roof. You can call them today for a free roof inspection. They're offering that today, actually. Give them a call, 512-645-3202. With offices all over Louisiana, Arkansas, and, of course, the great state of Texas. Hardcore will take care of all of your roofing needs. Plus, they're Longhorn friendly folks with partners like our lifetime Longhorn and my former teammate, Stevie Lee, but also lifetime Longhorn Burt Auburn as well. They're the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. You can call them today. Like I said, a free roof inspection. Can't beat that. Free 99. That's hardgroveroofing.com. Know who's on your roof. All right, Stevie, I'm glad you joined us. Perfect timing. I don't know if you heard some of the discussion prior.
A little bit.
Yes, about Scatterboo, but if you have not heard, I'll just read the quote that's going viral from Scatterboo today. There is nobody, I repeat, yeah, that's what he said. He said, basically, there's nobody out there that can stop me. And he was talking about the Texas defense included in that. All right, what are your thoughts, man? He's got some game now. He really does, man. He's got over 1,500 rushing yards, and 1,000 of those are after contact. So he's doing most of the damn work himself. It ain't about the O-line. It's about him. He's a beast.
Now, and I understand that, but we play gang defense at the University of Texas. It's a party at the ball, right? So you can try to make one man miss, but we're coming right at you with another man real quick. So he's talking a real big game. I guess he's trying to sell the fight, but I don't know, man. He's I don't want to. Let's see. How do I put this? I think our defense will be ready. Let's just say that.
It better be.
I totally agree.
They better
totally
be.
Agree.
Yeah.
And look, we talk about social media. We talk about stuff on shows like this. The players probably aren't tuning into us, Rod and Stevie. Let's be a little honest about that. But they see those graphics that we showed up. They see them on Instagram. They see them. They get sent to them by friends. It's talked about to an extent where they know what's being said on the opposite side of the ball. Stevie, do you remember a time? I know it wasn't as prevalent, social media wise back then, but any comments made ahead of a big game that you were just like, okay, let's lace them up even tighter now?
Yeah, that's how old we were. It was in the papers, Yeah. Even on social media, it was in the papers. But that's what we call bulletin board material. Yeah. Right? You cut it out and actually put it on your bulletin board.
Yeah.
golly, I don't know. I don't know. Remind me, Rod. I think Reggie McNeil said some stuff in the media.
The one that stood out to me personally, because I took it personally. That's why when you take it personally, to me, that's the ones you remember. And I remember before one of the A&M games, Bethel Johnson. It was a really good quote. So I kind of remember because I thought it was pretty cool. But it was kind of directed kind of during that game. He said before the game that Jesus couldn't cover him with cleats on. And as a man of God, I got offended. So it's like, not only is he talking about us, didn't you think he's going to throw it to Jesus? Didn't you say something about Jesus can't cover him? So that one stood out because his first was a really cool quote. I'll give him props. That was nice. That's a nice quote. It's blasphemous. It's blasphemous, all right? You ain't God-fearing at all, so you got to take that up with the Lord. Yeah. But I thought it was, he said it during the Texas Tech. They were like, what you talking about? And then I think he went on to be a second-round pick, pretty good player. But that one stood out to me. I mean, it usually happens around rivalry time. You hear somebody, but man, when you got respect for your opponent, usually you try to, keep that to yourself, right? Everybody knows you should feel that way, but to say it out loud, hey, good for him.
The thing about us, Coach Brown wouldn't let freshmen talk to the media unless you were, Cedric Benson type freshman, to where you had to talk to the media. So we had real good media training for us not to put bulletin board material on other teams' bulletin board, right? So I think that we actually need to go back to that, man. No freshmen talking, because
he's a veteran though. He's a veteran.
No, I know that. No,
Sam Levitt's a redshirt freshman. Sam Levitt's red. But remember, Colin Simmons was talking trash to Oklahoma before that. We talked a lot of trash to Oklahoma before that game because we were upset about the T-shirt thing that they had going on after they beat it. So I'm not mad when Texas does it. Texas has done it a couple of times. We get offended when someone does it to us because we are Texas and we're like, are you serious? Disrespect to do that to us? But we throw it out there at Oklahoma. This group, this generation is social media. They grew up in it. They're built different, Stevie, than we were. They used to living their life out in the open and saying things and putting out on display things that we never would. Never would.
That's true. I'm so glad we didn't have social media back on 6th Street back then.
Exactly. Receipts, hey, Stevie, about all your bad decisions.
Didn't Coach Brown actually put all the freshmen through some type of orientation or training on how to handle the media and what to say, what not to say, that kind of stuff? Didn't he? And he used to take you guys down to the steakhouse and, show you how to fine dine and, all that stuff. I mean, he did a lot of good things to prepare players for what was going to happen to him with the publicity they were going to get and not to embarrass yourself, whether you're fine dining, or whether you're being interviewed.
Yep. We had a etiquette class for fine dining. One year, the year I did it, it was up in the east side of the stadium, the Texas Club. And then the year after that, they did it at Ruth's Chris. I was like, what? Come on, man. and then, yes, we had media training. And like I said, freshmen couldn't talk to the media under Coach Brown unless we had a freshman phenom that had to talk to the media. But yeah, it was he really took care of us for life after football, So
yeah, but let's admit, just like it's tougher to have a positive, encouraging football culture these days because of social media, transfer portal, NIL, and the new landscape of college sports. It's also, that's just the reality. Matt Brown probably would have had a tougher time just trying to do some of those things. There would have been more challenges. He would have did great. He would have adapted. Mac was very, very adaptive. He was a guy that changed with the times when he needed to. But it's just tougher than ever because of social media. I love what Double D says. We adopted the social media darkness they were born in. Yeah, this generation, they have their, I don't know if they take their phones at halftime, but we've had issues with guys on social media at halftime of games. Social media is a different beast altogether. All right, let's talk X's and O's. So I got a question for you. X's and O's, Rice. All right, football. Because Scatterboo, one of the things that makes him so effective, it is a downhill running game. They run gap power schemes. For those who know the difference between gap and power schemes? Coach, if I'm off here, let me know. Zone blocking, you're blocking an area. All right, you're blocking a specific kind of zone or area. And when you're gap power schemes, you're blocking a specific person. You have an assignment. I believe Kyle Flood calls them landmarks and man marks. You got a man mark or you got a landmark. You got to hit it. All right, and that's how they differentiate between zone and man blocking schemes. So they run a lot of gap and power blocking schemes. Last 2 weeks, 83% gap power schemes. Last 3 weeks, it's around 70%. In that 6-game stretch, I believe, where they're in 6-game winning streak, it's been around 67%. On the season, it's 59%. It's obvious as they found their identity in the running game, it's been about gap and power schemes. You're a D lineman. What is the strategy defending gap power schemes, which has become the identity of this Arizona State run game?
So, and I actually like gap football, man. So as a defensive lineman, defensive tackle, and ends, you keep your gap, and you got to trust your linebackers to fill those other gaps. I think we do a good job as our linebackers running down the line and filling their gaps, and our safeties coming up and filling the extra gaps. So, from what I see, whenever I watch them, everyone is fitting in their correct gap. All you have to do is fit and keep your off arm free, and shed and go and make the tackle. And the way our linebackers run down the line and go ahead and fill the gap whenever they see ball, they go get ball in one of those gaps. I think that this is a great scheme against our defense. Well, this is a great defense against their scheme because we know how to see the ball going through the gaps and go get it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that for Texas, do you think this is a favorable matchup considering how
we defend the run? Exactly. Okay. Yeah, right. I do. Do y'all think so?
I do too, but I will say that, I mean, it's all about tackling this dude because I've seen teams defend him pretty well in terms of having a guy there designated to tackle him. The problem is he's got 92 forced missed tackles. So there have been a lot of times like, yeah, the defensive coordinator had a guy with that assignment, and then boom, Scatterboo makes that guy miss or runs that guy over, and then boom, chaos. So for Texas, who tackles really well, but I will say Pro Football Focus claims that they have a 17% missed tackle rate on runs, defending runs, which is like 105th or something in the country. So I would say Texas really hasn't faced a beast like this too, just out to give respect to them. Okay. Texas hasn't faced a beast like nobody runs this much gap power schemes in college football anymore. Right? You rarely get that. I mean, Jim Harbaugh does. I mean, Harbaugh football with Michigan, maybe. So maybe when they play Michigan, most people don't run this much gap power stuff. So
okay. But also when I think about man on man, we just have a stronger defense.
We do.
By the man.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So he may break tackles against them people over there. I'm not sure he's doing it against our defense, you know?
I agree. I'm with you on that too.
Well, it takes a lot more athleticism from linemen to block a zone scheme than it does a gap scheme. Because you're blocking down. If you got a nose, you got a guard blocking down on backside. The backside center is going to block backside. Get the defensive tackle or linebacker coming through. The backside guard is going to pull and lead up in the hole, you know. And it's just blocking down on people and kicking out people, as opposed to athletic linemen that are all moving together in sync. And like I've said many times, it's like a guard and a tackle or a center and a guard. You two have those two. You know, if one of them comes inside, then the inside guy has him and the outside guy goes up, you know. And that takes a lot of smarts and it takes a lot of athleticism. You still have to be athletic to play on the offensive line.
Exactly.
But I just think it suits their line better to run a gap scheme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think that we are too athletic for them to get to that.
Maybe so.
So I don't think they can rub on our big defensive linemen like that.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Where I think Arizona State has to get Scatterboo the ball is in the passing game. He has 530 receiving yards. He's second on the team in receiving yards. Stevie, I'm with you. I don't think they'll have much success against Texas running up the gut. If power is what you want to run, look, we've seen Texas from the edge, the edge position even be very good at stopping those, backside power runs, right? Colin Simmons and his speed is able to chase that down. Trey Moore, Ethan Burke with his length, Barron Sorrell. I think with the guys that you have right now, with Bill Norton, Jermaine Lole, and obviously, Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, those are three guys that are pushing 325, 330, and you're going to have to deal with a pair of them, right? Most teams in the Big 12 might have one that's pushing 315. You don't see a pair at 330 doing what Texas has been doing this year. And on top of that, the speed of an Anthony Hill isn't something that I think anybody in the Big 12 possesses. So I'm with you. It's going to have to be designs in space touches. Is what's going to hurt Texas in my eyes. I don't see it between the tackles.
Yep. To that point, though, they do run a lot of screens. They do have the highest screen rate actually in the country, or at least in this 6-game win streak. They had a 24% screen rate, so they love to run the screens. To your point, they're trying to get Scatterboo the ball in space, one-on-one, and hopefully he can just make somebody miss. That's basically what the whole point of the offense is, Scatterboo. And so we'll see, because I think they only got two threats right now, but they're going to have somebody step up in the passing game to beat Texas. They can't beat Texas with just Scatterboo and Sam Levitt. So I don't know which one of those guys who snowball last game, but I don't know who. Somebody's got to step up, because otherwise they're going to be too lopsided, too one-dimensional.
Here's what I think we need to look for, Rod. Besides the play action, is when everybody sells out to stop Scatterboo, the quarterback will keep. The quarterback is very athletic, and so every linebacker, everybody can't be filling, because you got to have somebody on that quarterback. Because if you're devoting everybody to stop that running back, the quarterback is very effective running the ball, as we know. And they can if they play their cards right, they can offset our aggressiveness to stop that running game with the quarterback, and with the quarterback run, and with play action passes.
Yep. 40% play action pass rate, I think 39% actually play action pass rate. So they throw it up. They use a lot of deception tactics to try to make teams aggressive and works against them. No doubt about that, Coach. Stevie, let me ask you one more question while we got you here. Give me a score prediction then, because a lot of Longhorn fans like yourself, pretty confident Longhorns are going to win this matchup. Give me a score prediction.
I never give score predictions. I
never give score predictions.
No, I give plus 21.
They're going to beat them by 21.
Plus.
Okay. All right, Stevie. So last time you told us to run at the ticket counter, put all your money down on the mortgage, whatever, and come back after the game. Are you sharing that same confidence in Texas? Maybe a blowout?
Yeah, I'm sharing that same confidence. Yeah, for sure. Because we talking about their run game. We're not even talking about our run game that's going to run the clock out. We're just going to hand the ball off and run the clock out.
I agree.
Right? And keep the ball out of their hands, Our defense go in there. Hopefully we get in there and get them 3 and out, and then put the ball back in our offensive hands. And we don't have to throw the ball against these guys. The way we've been running the ball the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we can do this.
Stevie,
what?
You know Sark as well as I do. You think Sark gonna go to this game and run it 45, 50 times? No, it's in his nature. He gonna throw it, because they can't stop either. Let's be honest. All right.
Right.
I'm gonna say it's not really good at stopping the pass or stopping the run. They're probably not gonna be able to stop Texas wide zone, because the only team that can stop is Georgia. But do we really think Sark gonna line up and just run it like over and over and over again? He's too tempted, because their defense gives up some plays. So he's gonna throw it, and that's okay.
He will throw it, but I also think that we're playing this game. How do I put it? We're playing this game conservative and base, basically, because we got the game next week in Arlington, right? So let's be conservative. Let's win this game with base offense, basically. But I hear you. It is Sark. He's going to throw the ball around.
He's going to dial it up. He got 2 weeks to prepare. you know, he hearing this trash talking about his quarterback and Sam Levitt go prove the first about to dial up a little play. It's okay. It's okay. Texas still gonna be fine. But this is the thing about let's start dialing it up. This is the fear. The only way they can upset Texas is turnovers. That's the only way.
Yeah,
we've seen it, Coach. Right? You've watched enough of these types of matchups. David Goliath. The only way for Texas really to lose it is turnovers, and Texas does give the ball away. They got 20. Was it on the day? I think they 111th. I think in giveaways on the season. This team is 17th in takeaways. They take away the football really well. That's the only way I see it, and the only way that usually, if you're passing the football, there are more ways for you to turn the football over rather than running the football to your conservative approach. So to your point, that's why Sark probably should run it a lot more than they throw it, but I think Sark's going to dial up some nice passes too. He's had too much time to prepare. He's going to get bored out there calling them wide zone left, wide zone right, wide zone left, wide zone counter, wide zone left, wide zone counter. I mean, he's going to get bored with that. I know he is. No.
I disagree. I think he's going to keep all that stuff he's been dreaming up the last 2 weeks in his hip pocket and use it if he needs to. Save it for next week.
I'm with you, Coach. I'm with you, Coach.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying I know the man well enough. I mean, still y'all know him too. Do y'all think he just gonna run it?
That's the thing. Can he separate the ego from the game plan?
Exactly.
Because Rod, you know he rides and dies with Quinn Ewers too. And I know that he wants to prove the point that without a question of a doubt, that Quinn Ewers is also the best quarterback in this game after the comments made.
Mm-hmm.
But do you need to dig into those bags of plays, tricks, goodies, whatever you want to call them, to make sure that that's done? I don't know. I don't think so.
I think Stevie's right. They still get the base offense, but I think they're going to throw it still. Like, I just think. So I don't know if you get any of the boutique, exotic looks, but they're going to throw it. Because you can throw it against Arizona State. We've watched the film. You can throw it against them. And I think he's going to make some of that happen too. All right, Stevie, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your experience and expertise, as always. Thank you, brother.
Awesome, man. Welcome. I appreciate you guys.
Tell that lovely family we said what's up. That is Lifetime Longhorns Stevie Lee, courtesy of Hardgrove Roofing, with offices all over Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. Hardgrove Roofing will take care of all of your roofing needs. Also, they're offering a free roof inspection. You get them a call today, 512-645-3202, or you can look them up at hardgroveroofing.com. Know who's on your roof at Hardgrove Roofing. Okay, so we'll get some of the questions here. I know we got to talk practice as well, and we got legendary Lifetime Longhorn Jordan Shipley coming up to kind of close out the show. So we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Let me just get to this comment, because some people, I see you guys saying that we're overhyping Scatterboo. Listen, I mean, the guy has over 1,500 yards rushing, 92 forced missed tackles, over 1,000 of those after contact. So not overhyping him. I just think we want to give the guy his proper respect. I know some games where he hasn't had a rushing yards, 100 yards rushing. But think about this, guys. And I see Quentin throwing out the stats there. All of those games, well, most of those games where he had fewer than 100 yards rushing. That's why I've been keeping my film study to the last 6 games, to their 6-game winning streak. Because just like Texas, they just found their identity in the running game. If you're studying Texas running game in the first 4 or 5 games of the season, you're just wasting time. You want to study Texas in the last 4 or 5 games of the season, where they found their identity in the run game, which is built around what? The wide zone, right? And that's what you want to study. So if you're looking at Scatterboo and what Arizona State was doing early in the season, I'm not saying, that you're wasting time, because, hey, man, you can still put that into your analytics. That's a great sample size. But they didn't find their identity in the running game until the last 6 games, which is why their increase in gap power schemes that we brought up, why it actually increased exponentially. And if you go look at the games where, because I got them right here. If you go look at, so let's look at the first game of the season against Wyoming. He had 49 yards more, and that they didn't even know. I mean, he only had 11 attempts or something in that game. So they didn't even know who Scatterboo was in terms of who he's going to be. Then there's the 62 yards in Texas State. I get that. They had more zone runs than gap runs in that game. Then there is the other game, 60 yards against Texas Tech. I'm not saying Texas Tech didn't do a great job, but they also had more zone runs than gap runs in that game. Then you go look at so get my point. Like early on in the season, they didn't know that they shouldn't be running zone runs with that guy. He's not great running side to side. You should be running downhill. They found that out, and that really sparked their run. And so that's all I'm saying about. I know people bring up stats. Oh, what about what he did against Texas? I'm not saying Texas is going to stonewall them, but that is, in my opinion, a flawed sample because it's before they actually had what I believe now is their winning formula in the running game. That's the difference. So,
well, there's only one thing worse than somebody running their mouth before a game, and that's somebody that can back it up. I hope we don't see that, but if we do, hats off to him, man. I mean, you called your shot, but
yep.
I don't know this Texas defense, man. I just don't see them messing around with these guys. I
agree with that. No, I'm not saying he's going off at all. I'm just talking about why we are giving him the proper amount of respect on the show.
Yeah,
and talking about scheme.
He deserves it.
Yes, and that's kind of what I'm saying. He deserves it. Like he deserves. We haven't faced a running back that is as unique as he is in terms of his downhill running ability. So and the ability to break tackles. But that's all. But like I said, I still think Texas is good. The question is, okay, does he get 100 yards? That's the question.
Total?
Does he get 100 yards, CJ?
Rushing only?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Coach?
No. We hold them under 70 yards, and I think that's kind of what they were talking about on Coffee and Football this morning. Hold them under 70 yards, I agree. It's a win. They don't have enough more. They don't have enough offensive production other than him.
Rod, the only way that he does is if they get up early and they're able to stick to their game plan, right? If they're able to play a half like Mississippi State was able to earlier this year, and that was with a freshman quarterback where they can say, all right, we're going to go for it very early on a bunch of fourth downs. We're going to try and get 2 to 3 to 4 yards per run. Just keep the clock on our side. If we have 16 plays that takes off 8 minutes of clock and we turn the ball over on downs inside the red zone, that's basically a win for us. That's the only way I could see him cracking 100. If Texas gets the ball first, goes down and scores, how quickly do they stay with their script, which is their ultimate strength of running the football and keeping the ball in his hands? I don't see that being the case.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, CJ. I think if you want to look at overall yards, then you got to look at him trying to get like 150 total yards. And I don't know if you get 100 of that rushing. If I'm talking about if all goes well for them. And
it'll be interesting, Rod. How many touches do you think he would need to do this? I'm thinking at the minimum 35 is where if they're going to win the game, he's going to have to take 35 or 40 touches. And I don't know if that's a recipe for success, one, to begin with in terms of predictability and play calling, but two, look, this Texas defense can hit. It's a big physical bunch.
He's not going to want the ball 35 times.
I totally
agree.
agree.
I think he's going to want it 35 times.
They're going to have to give it to him 35 to 40 times to have a shot against it. They don't have enough playmakers. With the law, if Jordan Tyson was in there, then I could see it. But, guys, he's the leading receiver now with Tyson out. And he's the leading rusher. I mean, this is the game where he's got to get – I would say the most touches. I don't know the most touches he's had in the game. I would say this would be it. And a lot of that, has got to be in the passing game too. I would use him as a decoy early on in the game, though. I feel like, Coach, you said that too. I would use him as a decoy. Get Texas, because Texas will be all eyes on him. They'll be willing to give up one-on-one opportunities elsewhere on that defense. And it may just be in the secondary because they feel like they can match up there. All right, before we bring on our very special guest, let's thank our friends over at Duck Camp. I'm wearing Duck Camp right now, as you can see. Duck Camp produces premium outdoor goods for the outdoor spirit in each and every one of us. Duck Camp is dedicated to providing the best outdoor goods so you can outdoor good, whether you're an avid hunter or you prefer fishing, or like me, you prefer the camaraderie of the campsite. Duck Camp is a great brand that understands the culture of outdoor living and the good times and good friends that come along with living an outdoor lifestyle. You can check out their new fall selection. I'm wearing some of it right now. See, here's the burnt orange I talked about. It's really close. You can check that out. I got the hat on. I got a lot of Duck Camp gear. Great, fantastic gear, but it has really, really good, some really good products. Whether you're talking about hats, or whether you're talking about some shirts, whether you're talking about hunting gear and fishing gear, I really do actually advocate for duckcamp.com. They do a great job, so recommend checking out their new fall selection today at duckcamp.com. All right, let's get we're gonna have there he goes. We got our special guest coming on right now with us, legendary lifetime Longhorn. I'll spare you all of his accolades. I think he's the greatest receiver in Texas football history, but I'm sure some people would debate that. Lifetime Longhorn, legendary lifetime Longhorn, Jordan Shipley joining us right now. Jordan, what's going on? How you doing, brother? Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays. Merry Christmas. How you doing, Rod?
Doing great.
CJ?
CJ Vogel on with me as well. Jordan, just let me ask you about the team, man. I haven't gotten your thoughts about the team and how really this journey they've been on. I'm sure you've been paying close attention to it. What are your thoughts about this team? What makes them so unique? You've been a part of great teams, championship caliber teams. What makes this team unique and maybe even similar to some of the teams you've been on?
I think the biggest thing that jumps out to me is the defense. Defense has just been so dominant. And, I think the fact, too, that there's weapons all across the board, from receiver to running back to tight end. Obviously, got a great quarterback and another great one in waiting. And I think just well-rounded across the board. But to me, the biggest thing that just that stands out is I think the defense is elite and a good enough group to win a national championship for sure.
On the same note of that, I mean, this is the first back-to-back season where Texas has been back on that national stage since 08-09. And I think a large part of that obviously has to do with Sarkisian's offensive, kind of game planning schemes, play calling, whatever you like. As a wide receiver, I mean, you got to take note of some of the big plays, the concepts. What stands out to you about Sark and his ability to dial up the big plays whenever need be?
Yeah, I think it's just he's got a great system and a great scheme, and I think he does a great job of generally when they've done well, they've tried to establish the run, and I think if you can establish the run when you've got weapons like we've got on the outside, there's not much they can do to stop you because they can't stack the box, and I think that's what he does really well is he tries to establish the run and get that going, and then uses that to set up the pass game. And that's the way football's always been. If you can run the ball, and you've got the weapons on the outside, then you can really hurt them. And if you're two-dimensional, that's the biggest thing. I think he's done a great job of establishing that, and then developing some additional. I always think if you've got a tight end, that's one thing I think that made some of the teams that I was on. I guess I don't know if Rod, did you play with Bo?
Yeah, Bo Scheme. Yeah.
I mean, so that whole area I think is one reason Texas football. You had all those 10-win seasons, and you had Bo Scaife and obviously David Thomas, and when I was there, we had Jermichael Finley and Blaine Irby, and just if you can hurt them at the tight end position, then that just adds a huge element that I think has been missing a little bit over the last decade. And so Gunnar Helm's done a great job, and they've done a good job getting him the ball too. And then just in general using the running back like I said, and we've got great weapons at receiver too.
Hey, Jordan, I was once asked a great question when someone asked me, out of 10 reps against Jordan Shipley, how many do I think I'd win? And I said, well, it depends on who the quarterback is. If it's Colt, I wouldn't win many of those. But, give because I always thought, in addition to, I think statistically, you are the greatest receiver in Texas football history. I just thought it from a DB standpoint, you'd be the toughest for me to defend. Give people a scouting report on you as a wideout in your prime, all right, looking back on it, and what you did so well. Because I could give folks a scouting report, but I want you to do it for yourself because I thought you'd be the toughest receiver to defend. And I defended Roy Williams in practice every day. Yeah, I did. And he's a beast now. But I'm telling you, man, your skill set was a nasty one. What made you the beast? What made you so unique as a receiver?
Man, I think part of it was just, understanding, thinking about it from the defensive back standpoint, and what makes defensive backs move and what makes them react, and then trying to almost reverse engineer that in your mind. And so there would be times I'd be running a comeback or something, and I would almost try to convince myself that I was doing something different until the very last minute. And so I think just the route running and being able to use a force that's almost violent in that last step to try to get out and separate. That's a big part of it because I was I had good speed, but after having some of the injuries and stuff, I feel like I had to really work on that on the last phase of route running and one of the big things too that Coach Davis kind of turned us loose to do some some stuff that he hadn't really done before as far as option routes and stuff like that. And when you can get a quarterback and a receiver on the same page as far as having multiple options that you can do in a route, that's very, very hard to defend. I mean, it's if the only two people that know what's coming are the quarterback and the receiver, and they know what's coming based on what that defensive back does or if they roll coverage and that kind of stuff, I mean, you can't really beat it if it's done right.
And Jordan,
but I will say this, and I got to play with, I think you kind of got in on the very front end of being one of the best DB. I think one of the best DBs. I got to watch you guys when I was coming through high school, so that was kind of a time where you're looking up to the guys that are playing, and so that was really fun. Obviously, I was watching the receivers a lot, but you guys, you and Quentin Jammer and I got to kind of play with some of that next generation of best DBs that ever came through, and that was great honing my craft because I've showed up as a young guy, and the best receivers had kind of vacated, and you got to go up against them, so I'm sure that probably made you a lot better. But it was almost the opposite for me. I showed up and we had Aaron Ross, Terrell Brown, Michael Huff, Michael Griffin. We had some, yeah, right in the middle of it. You guys kind of started it off, but they picked it up, and we had some Thorpe Award winners, and then on the back end of that, I had Earl Thomas who was really good, and I used to just go my senior year. I would just go one-on-one with him every day because he played some safety a lot, but he was so good that he was that annoying guy when he showed up his freshman year and running scout team that's just like overachieving and trying too hard. And, but it turns out he was really just that good. And so that was one thing that helped too at the time, was going through against some really Cedric Griffin, just some really, really good defensive backs and getting on that craft. And you got the same thing, I think, with Roy, BJ, and Sloan.
That's real.
Yeah, that is. Jordan, I was going to ask you, I think you might have undersold where your speed. I had some speed. No. But I did want to ask you this from Jeff in our chat. Where'd you get it from? That's not from Pops, is it?
Man, I don't know. You got me. I'm on the spot right here with him sitting here beside me.
Looking over the shoulder.
Actually,
I can answer that question. Absolutely no.
He says no. But I have seen, if we could find it somewhere, there is an old highlight tape of Dad playing running back at Abilene Christian, and he actually had some pretty good speed, but he was just we were built totally different. He was like probably 6'1", 230 or something, and he'd break into the open, and it was like my thing was kind of avoiding guys and trying to make a miss, and his thing was like, where's the free safety? As soon as I break into the open, attacking him and trying to buckle him. And so I think me and my brother probably got a little more on my mom's side of the gene pool. She was pretty fast. So
I like it.
If we could, my uncle, I think, taped over some MTV dance video or something back in the 90s when I had a highlight tape of his, and it was like part highlights and part MTV dance video, so I never really got to see the whole thing.
Some people probably don't even know what VHS is. They don't even know. I see my audience don't even get that, Jay. They don't even get that, Jordan. Hey, let me ask you this from our audience here. Cisco wants to know, Jordan, what was your favorite memory at Texas? Because you had a lot of great ones, man. What was yours personally?
Oh man, I would say that the Texas OU game is just probably if I had to boil it down to one single game, 08 Texas OU, I think they were ranked number 1 and we were number 4 or 5, and going in and beating them that is just, there's something about that Cotton Bowl. I mean, there's nothing else like that. You got the fans stacked on top of you. I remember catching balls and like taking 2 steps and being out of bounds and hitting the sidewall, and people are patting you, and just that's an experience that's like no other. So I would say if we would have won the national championship my senior year, that would probably have been number 1 for me. But aside from that, I think the OU game probably.
Yeah.
I got one for you. More so towards the NFL and your career there, but I was doing some research before you hopped on. You're drafted in the 3rd round in 2010, and Rod, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but the room that you stepped into, Jordan, in Cincinnati, pretty darn talented, right? Carson Palmer, Cedric Benson, Chad Johnson, Terrell Owens, and Jermaine Gresham, all on the offensive side of the ball. What was that like? To walk into T.O. and Ocho Cinco in the same wide receiver room?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was really fun. They were really good to me, but it was. I mean, they were both kind of at the end, towards the end of their careers, and had proven a lot. And so I think they had a TV show together at the time, and we actually played, with 3 receivers most of the time. So I was out there on the field a lot with them, and. I remember Chad, Chad's been in the offense for 8 or 9 years at that point, at least. And, I remember like the first week you're looking, cause at that level, there might be, where I may have 2 or 3 different things I could do at the college level. There may be 7 or 8 different things based on, you're watching the defensive end and the linebacker. If these 2 guys go, I've got this route. If these 2 guys go, I've got this route. If these 2 guys go, it's hot and I don't run anything. I just turn around. And so there's a lot of things going through your mind. And like a weekend of 2 days, we look up and Chad be yelling at me in one ear, hey Chip, what I got? I'm like, man, you've been in this office for 8 years. I've been in here for like 6 days. I'm trying to figure out what I do. That was probably a good culmination of how it went. We didn't have a great team that year. It was fun, and those guys were, like I said, they were great to me, and they were really fun to play with. But we didn't have the best all together team. We got a lot of media attention, but that was about it.
I bet. Yeah,
that is great. I love that. That sounds like Ocho Cinco too. Hey, shit, what I got? That's great.
What I got, Mike? Man, this is like my 3rd day in the playbook, man. I don't know. I can't help you.
Oh man, Jordan, I thank you for your time too. So we won't keep you too much longer. I got a couple of questions here just from the chat. David wants to know, Jordan, can you describe the kickoff return in 08? Just because the last question I asked you was your favorite, memory. You described Texas, Oklahoma. I'm assuming it was 08, the kickoff return. Is that the memory specifically that you recall?
Yeah, that was I don't know, something about I remember walking out on the field and they had just gone up, I think 14-3 maybe. Yeah. And I just remember going out there and just feeling like something big was about to happen, and that didn't happen to me all the time. Like I wasn't one of those, like some big premonition type deal or whatever. But for some reason that time I walked out on the field and it just felt like, all right, something's coming. And, guys did an awesome job. And it just, there was a seam that opened up and, just tried to hit it as fast as I could. But that was, I remember one thing I remember about it was, there's that point in the kickoff return or punt return or whatever when it's kind of like right when it's about to go, and you can feel it. And I remember just kind of cutting to the right and looking up and the Jumbotrons takes up, a bunch of the end zone. And I remember just seeing myself in the Jumbotron and thinking, man, this is crazy, and that surreal moment of like, I'm running a kickoff back, in a game like this and seeing myself do it. It was kind of crazy.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It really is. All right, Jordan. CJ, do you have another question for Jordan? I don't want to take up too much of his time. Do you have anything?
No, that was great. Thank you very much, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. We know you got stuff to do, bro. We really, really appreciate you. We know you guys are celebrating Christmas right now, so it's actually holidays for you guys. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and thank you for the time, brother. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. One of these days we'll have to line up those 10 one-on-ones. I don't know if I still got it in me, but we'll try it out. 2 old guys out there.
Hey, you know what? I am down, but it's probably gonna be a sad thing. I don't know if anybody wants to watch it. It would just be me and you.
No.
What you doing?
It'd be sad all across the board. We need to just table that. But
hey, no doubt. Right. Thank you. Appreciate you,
Thanks,
brother.
Jordan.
All right.
See you guys.
ShipleyRanches.com. You can go check it out. And how about that? SwadeandShield.com. So SwadeandShieldCo.com. If you want to get those Shipley Ranches hats, boom. That's how you get that Shipley Ranches gear. You just go get it at SwadeandShieldCo.com. All right. Thanks for that, Coach. That was amazing. That was awesome.
Yeah,
really
that was good. To borrow a line from Jackie Gleason in Cannonball, what was it? With Burt Reynolds, Sally Fields. Jackie Gleason was talking to his son, who was a dimwit, and he said, "I can't believe you came from my loins." And that's kind of how I feel about Jordan. I said, I can't believe, Cannonball, I can't believe you came from my loins.
I honestly, I meant to ask him. See, damn it, I had another question. I wanted to ask him about the next Shipley coming up, and I guess I was like, "Who's your best?" Because y'all got a lot of grandkids in the family, a lot of young folks. Who's the next? If you had to put your money on the next Shipley that we're gonna be talking about, as a big time football player.
It's probably good. It may be Jackson's boys. He worked with his boys every single day, Stone and Steiner.
Steiner. Okay. Stone.
They get after it, man.
All right, hold on. What's Stone and Steiner gonna play? What position they gonna play?
Receiver, of course.
Okay.
Gotta be, Rod. Come on.
No, family big. I know you had one. You sent me a video. Well, I'm like, that's a DB. Ain't no receiver.
You're right. Steiner's going to be the DB. Steiner's got his two teeth missing. They had to pull his two teeth because he knocked him in playing football, and his permanent ones haven't come in yet. And then this week he's got about 8 stitches across his forehead from another accident. Full speed, baby. Full speed.
That's a safety. It's like Steiner gonna be a safety. I saw the video. I was like, "Oh, that's not a receiver." Receivers, they don't like to get. They will be delicate. They don't want to get into the scrum like that. All right. Thank you guys for all the questions and everything, and thank you, Coach, for letting having Jordan come on with us. That was fantastic. That was great. All right, let me thank our friends at South Point before we move on here. Our friends at South Point Dodge. You can get to the point this season, score an easy extra point this season with our friends over at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including a great selection of Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is the one-stop shop. You can score big today at southpointdodge.com. You can go see them off I-35 in person. You can go check out their amazing selection and inventory, or you can go online, make it easy on yourself at southpointdodge.com. South Point Dodge, Austin's automotive everything. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is your one-stop shop. And right now, over 50 Ram 2500s right now, all marked down with huge savings over at South Point Dodge. So they're hooking you up as they always do. Thank you very much to South Point Dodge for sponsoring the Winning Drive. What's up, Coach?
Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit.
The Cannonball Run was a sequels. Yeah.
See, there you go. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay.
I'm old, but that's still a little old for my, for me, a reference for me. So I know CJ.
It's a great movie.
Oh yeah,
I've heard the name.
I'm sure I've seen it back in the day. All right, let's answer a couple of questions here, guys. I'll throw. First is Chris Jackson. Thank you for the super chat, Chris. Does he break a run longer than a 40-yard run? This is, I'm assuming, about Scatterboo. Do we think Scatterboo, what's the longest run he breaks? Does he get an explosive run? Does he get it? Because Texas doesn't allow a lot of explosive runs. Does he get a run of at least 20 yards? And does he have a run of at least 40 yards? I'm going to say 40 yards, no way. That just ain't happening. Texas don't give up a lot of those. Will he? What do you think, CJ?
Well, I would typically say no immediately, but last 2 games, Texas has given up a 40-yard run, right? One of them was to a wide receiver who was lined up in the backfield from Clemson, and then obviously ETN got loose for about a 50-yard run against Texas in the SEC championship game. So I'm not saying it's completely out of the picture, but I would definitely say it's unlikely, Coach. I can't imagine that that's something that you would, toss $1 on and bet money that Texas would allow a 40-yard run. It feels very fluky, obviously, when it does happen. And all the other attempts, it's basically stonewalled right at the line of scrimmage from what we've seen.
Yeah, it can happen. If we're in a blitz situation, and we're playing man coverage, if he slips through there and the DBs are chasing guys down the field, it can absolutely happen.
Yeah. But I think that's one of the only ways in which it would happen. It's got to be a perfect, situation like that.
We got too much speed, and we don't play a lot of man coverage. Texas doesn't play a lot of man coverage. They don't. They, kind of bottom 20 in the country in man coverage rate. I do wonder in this game, if you decide to just stack the box, play man coverage. I meant to ask Stevie this, and I'll ask you, Coach. How much 40 personnel do they play? I mean, do you just play the 3-4? Just break out your 3D tackle package with those two overhangs, Barron Sorrell and Trey Moore, two off-ball linebackers, and say, we ain't going to let you run it. But if you want to throw it, you might have some favorable matchups, especially they don't have Jordan Tyson. He's the only NFL guy. I like Stovall, Guillory, some of the other receivers they have, but those receivers are not game breakers. But what are your thoughts? I mean,
they're going to have to beat us with deception, especially throwing the ball. It's going to have to be deception. It's going to be play action. It's going to be double moves. It's going to be pick routes. It's going to be something. Because just man on man, I just don't see them having a lot of success throwing the ball against us or really even running it, breaking off big runs. They're going to have – it's going to have to – I really think there'll be some deception there. I mean, we talked about this earlier, guys. They're going to throw everything at us. They're not leaving anything in the chamber. They're going to give us – they're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at us. And, as a DB, Rod, as a defensive player – does that if you come in playing against a team that's got talent and that their backs are against the wall and they're going to throw everything at you they possibly have, does that affect you? Like, hey, I can't be quite as aggressive. I've got to kind of watch out. How does that affect your defensive mind when you've got a team with a back up against the wall, but they are certainly a talented team?
I wouldn't if I would say I wouldn't have my DBs be very aggressive. I mean, I would let my DBs play off coverage like they have. I would stack the box. I would dare them. Even if I do it with a nickel or a bigger nickel, but with guys like Jelani McDonald playing out there or something, I would stack the box. And Gilbo can do it too, but I'd make it obvious that I'm not going to let you run the rock. You're going to have to beat me with Sam Levitt playing hero ball. Sam Levitt wants to throw the football. We're going to give him every opportunity to. He wants to prove he's better than Quinn. I'm going to let him do it because I think our pass rush, if they decide to be, a pass-heavy team or pass-first, so we take away the run, their pass protection won't hold up either.
Yeah. I tell you, no one else in the world might be more ready for Sam Levitt hero ball than Sam Levitt himself after what he's been saying this week. Right? I think he's sitting there saying, all right, yeah, I'll take this game over single-handedly, to which Texas would probably say, go for it.
Exactly.
Try your best.
Love it. I would love that. To me, that's best case scenario for Texas. Now, here's the thing. I do think he is playing the quarterback position better than any quarterback that Texas has played, not named Cade Klubnik. Carson Beck, say what you want, Carson Beck may be a better prospect overall, but he wasn't playing the quarterback position at a really high level, guys. He just was not. He wasn't. His receivers weren't helping him out either. So this young man is playing the quarterback position at a really high level. His last two games, one of them without Jordan Tyson, his leading receiver, have been his best games of his career. It's a short career. He's only a redshirt freshman, but they've been the best games of his career. And he's got 16 touchdowns, one interception in the last 5-6 games in that winning streak for theirs. So he's playing at a – so I understand why he's feeling himself. I get it. Now, he hadn't faced a defense like this. So
I think our mentality, the mentality of our defensive backs welcome this. Let's see what we can do again. You say we haven't played against a lot of great quarterbacks, bring them on. We just show up against, whoever's on the schedule. We can't help it. But now you got a good one. Let's bring it on. I think that defensive secondary is confident enough. They don't care who's a quarterback.
Yep. And that would be, guys, that would be them breaking tendency because they run the ball 61% of the time and they throw screens 24% of the time. All right. That 85% of that damn offense is running the ball and extensions of the run game, screens and running game. So if they don't just decide, hey man, we're going to chunk it, that's not really what they do. An inexperienced quarterback in that situation against the best defense in the country. If you're Texas, that's what you want to turn this game into. Sam Levitt hero ball. And if Sam Levitt can beat you, playing hero ball without Scatterboo, well, they was going to beat you anyway, which I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just saying. All right. How about this one from Colin? He says, is Texas wearing orange jerseys or the icy whites on Wednesday? I'm not sure. CJ, do you know if they're home or away?
They don't get the pick. I think Arizona State obviously gets the pick since they're the higher seed. I do think Texas is in the icy whites.
I was about to say, if I was Arizona State, I wouldn't let them be in their icy whites. They look
no, me either.
They look too good.
They obviously don't know the history there.
Man, don't let the stormtroopers, man, they're powerful. MJF says, as each high ankle sprain is different, do we have any reports that Bond is not at a 100% now, or just speculation based on high ankle sprains? High ankle sprains suck. I've had one before. They take forever in terms of them to heal completely. You can run straight ahead, but change of direction it's tough. And it depends on obviously what grade or how severe it is. What do you guys think about Isaiah Bond? Do we want Isaiah Bond out there if he's not the Isaiah Bond with world-class speed?
No, you don't. But I don't think it will matter a whole lot, if he's not 100%. Speaking with him today, he sounded very confident that he's going to be back to, kind of the level that he was pre-injury, and that would be huge for Texas, obviously, to completely unlock that entire playbook once again. If he's still a little bit, shy of 100%, I don't think you need him in this game. I don't think you needed him last week, but look, he certainly is a heck of a playmaker, and Texas would love to get him at a full 100% for whatever might be ahead in the semifinal or the national championship game.
Yep. I agree. I don't think you need him either. James, I just got back from my honeymoon in Japan. Made an offer shrine in Kyoto before we whooped Clemson, then hurried back the next day to make 3 times the offering for the next game. That's devoted. Thank you, James. God bless you. That's right. Doing your part. We appreciate that. Thank you, James, for listening, brother, and watching. We appreciate you. How about this one from Cisco? Says, Scatterboo saying no one can stop him. Why would you fire up the Texas D like that? We don't know. We don't know if this is – listen, they're confident, and they should be confident. This is an historic run for Arizona State, and Scatterboo is one of the best players in the country. Not sure, and like I said, they're not really talking trash on Texas. They're just hyping themselves up, which, if I'm a coach, I'm happy about that. But you could argue, why would you do that, and give the other opposing team viral bulletin board material like that? I don't know. I like it. Either. I like it. I'm not gonna lie. I like it. I like their swagger and football character. We'll see if they back it up, because I can't wait to see if they back it up. You got to back it up. That's more. But the reason coaches don't like it, Coach, right? Because it adds more pressure. Like it's not enough pressure. Then you just added a bunch more pressure to the situation now, right?
Yeah. You give as if a team doesn't have enough motivation to begin with. Now you make it personal, and that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to make it personal. If it's personal, it's a whole nother level of intensity in my mind.
Yeah.
Agree with that. Jose with a super chat here says, maybe I missed it, but CJ, did ASU look physically in the morning session? Did Scatterboo look the part? Oh, they look physically imposing. Maybe that's what he's saying. Thank you, Jose, for the super chat.
Yeah, I mean, you can only learn so much of guys just walking around in hoodies and sweats, and look, Scatterboo specifically is about 5'11", right? 6 foot. He's a stocky guy. He's built very well. He's built like a wrestler is probably the best way that I could put it. And as we know, when you're built like that at the running back position, it's very difficult to bring down. And that's kind of been his MO all the way throughout the season. Rod, I think you said 93, 94 missed tackles forced already this season. He's built very well for the running back position. The other thing that I've kind of brought up earlier in the week leading up to this is Arizona State doesn't have a single defensive lineman listed above 300 pounds.
Crazy.
Now, does that mean anything? Maybe. I think so. But their run defense has been good. And I think as a result of that, a lot of effort from the linebackers and specifically the safeties, they trigger quickly. And Rod, I don't think we've seen a flea flicker in Sarkisian's tenure at Texas. If we have, maybe I'm wrong, but for a safety group that triggers as quickly as they do. I mean, there's your counter.
I like that. Or that reverse that Sark likes. That's too, but that's a good point. You brought that up, CJ. I love how you phrased it too. They trigger quickly. They do. And because they're undersized, they slant and they shoot gaps, which is why they actually aren't bad versus wide zone.
No, they're not. It's surprising when you consider the size, Rod. Like that's Texas's big thing and coming into this game is size will overpower what you're facing on the opposite side. Arizona State doesn't have that, but to your point, it's like, wait a minute, they're not they're not a bad rush defense at all.
Yeah, exactly. I found they're more susceptible, strangely enough, to power concepts, power gap schemes, lead, power, counter. And that's strange because usually whatever your offense is good at, you defensively are usually good at defending that concept because you face it a lot and your coaches know about it. But from what I've watched, I think you can run downhill on them. So it'll be interesting to see if Texas, if the wide zone isn't working as well as they thought, if they'll go back to running, some power and some counter, which Texas has that ability to do as well. Good question there, Jose. How about this one from Country Boy? Rod, how much does it help in preparation having Norton and Savea plus Coach Nansen, who played Arizona State? Did not think about that very much, Country Boy. That's I did not think about that. Coach, does that give you any advantages having some guys who at least know the roster and know the personnel a little bit?
Maybe, yeah, but not much. In my mind.
Yeah. How about this one from Katie 35? I'm the best. Lance Jackson, Justice Terry do not look like they just got out of high school. CJ, there are some guys who are practicing with the team already who signed in this latest recruiting class. Did you see those guys out there and how did they look?
Yeah, I did. I'm glad you asked because that was actually one of the first things that I did see as we walked onto the field. I think Matthew's pulling up a video now. It was Lance Jackson and Michael Terry actually just throwing the football back and forth to one another on the sideline before practice began. And let me tell you, we talk about size. We talk about 5 stars. They look like 5 stars. And every bit of it, this is Lance Jackson on the right. He's throwing the ball over here. There's Michael Terry, the third.
Wow.
Lance Jackson's every bit of 6'6". I mean, you see the hands there. That's just a tremendous athlete, 2-sport guy. 6'6", 275 is what he's listed at. Michael Terry, 6'2.5", 215, 220 is what he's at. He's starting his Texas career at wide receiver. Lance Jackson at edge. Rod, Coach, Texas is obviously, you saw the video. They got both of them wearing the black pennies for scout team. Mm-hmm. Texas, before practice started, I was over by the defensive lineman, of course. We'll talk a little bit about Cole Brevard and Justice Terry coming up here in a sec. Texas's edge room was doing some hand work with Kenny Baker and PK over there. You see 2 guys walking in black, not in line to go through the drills, but maybe the 2 biggest kids on the entire edge room is Zeno Umeozulu and Lance Jackson. Both of them 6'5" plus. Zena looks like he's pushing 260s, 265. And we just mentioned Lance. That room is as healthy a room as you could imagine, a position room, especially when you consider Smith Orogbo coming in as well. I was, almost jaw on the floor thinking, these guys are obviously scout team guys, but I haven't seen a edge room at Texas ever look like this. And I know that they're putting out great numbers this year specifically, but whew, that future, I mean, they've got it going on. On top of that, we have the video loaded for Coach Baker was working with 5-star defensive lineman. This is Justice Terry wearing number 98 right there. He's paired up with Cole Brevard, the Purdue defensive lineman who transferred over and signed with the Longhorns. You see Brevard a little bit bigger in the belly, a little bit bigger in the torso. That looks like a guy who's 320 pounds as he is. He plays right over the nose for about 75%, 80% of his snaps at Purdue. But the quickness and the frame itself of Justice Terry. I spoke very briefly with Coach Baker today. Got a quick 2-minute interview. If you're looking for that, we got the clip over on our YouTube as well. But I asked him, I was like, look, what is about Justice Terry that gets you excited? He goes, he's got everything you want in defensive lineman. It's just up to us and Coach Beckton to get the weight on him. And when we do that, he's going to be a heck of a football player. So Texas got 3 5-stars on the field today. And, of course, you saw Cole Brevard and Brad Spence, the former Arkansas linebacker. He also practiced with the Longhorns today, but quite the new faces for the Longhorns. And that defensive front, Coach Rod, it's going to be looking pretty good moving forward.
And these guys basically get another spring practice, right? Basically, I mean, how many practices they get if Texas moves on to the next round now?
Yeah, I mean, every day that they're on the practice field, they'll be practicing with them in Austin.
Right,
so,
wow.
Of course, they're taking advantage of it, as they should be.
That's good.
They'll almost get in a whole spring training. I mean, they'll get in what? 12,
14 practices,
something like that. I mean,
that's amazing.
What a huge advantage that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I mean, I just didn't realize it, but that's a lot of practice, extra practice those young guys get in even before they come in for the spring too. So good stuff there, CJ. Let me ask you this, CJ. Anything else at practice that stood out to you? So we're already talking about practice a little bit since you did that small window. Anything else that stood out to you that was noteworthy or newsworthy?
Look, we didn't get to see a whole lot. Like I'm telling you, these guys walked onto the field and we walked off. That's kind of how
that was the window. That was
exciting. But I did see Cam Williams had a wrap on his right knee. So take that for what it's worth. I didn't get to see him move. I barely got to see him walk on the field. So an update in terms of what his availability will be on Wednesday. I don't have it for certain right now.
I don't think you need Cam Williams in this game. I would like to see them let him get fresh for the next round, not to be cocky or arrogant, but
yeah. Here's something. I talked to Trevor Gooseby today about playing both left tackle and right tackle and how different that is. He said, look, I played basketball my whole life growing up. It's basically just like shooting a layup left-handed and right-handed. I'm like, it's got to be a little bit different than that, right?
What is it, that's the toughest thing to do in sports, arguably. What are you talking about?
It's that easy, Trevor? But, I mean, he sure makes it look that easy. So credit to him and obviously what Kyle Flood and that group is doing right now. It didn't look like there was any significant hindrance from one side to the other. So whatever he's doing, it's working. So Texas, if Williams can't go or if Banks is hobbled again, it's good to have a guy like Trevor Gooseby. That's for sure.
No doubt about that. All right, let's thank our last sponsor of the evening. Did you know our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery? First of all, we really appreciate all of their support. But did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, folks. Flat Creek Estate Winery, just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan is now available at your local specs, so please give it a try. Of course, Flat Creek is also a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend, perfect for a date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, and really appreciate them for sponsoring the winning drive. Also, you can find their wines also at your local Central Market. I see it there, the display there when I go and do some grocery shopping. So the good word is getting out about our friends at Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. All right. Thank you guys for all of the questions. Sorry I couldn't get to all of them, but any questions that we missed, please direct them to the folks at Coffee and Football in the morning. They'll be more than happy to address any of those. That'll be starting up at 8 a.m. And we'll also have our Tuesday night live stream at 7 p.m. tomorrow. CJ will join us for that one. My man E. Hogan as well. And then Wednesday, we got all your game coverage right here on Texas Football. Also, thank you to our friends at Duck Camp. Once again, boom, Duck Camp. They're sponsoring all of our coverage, our preview coverage for the Texas-Arizona State matchup this week. So all of our live shows covering the Texas-Arizona State matchup brought to you by our good friends over at Duck Camp. So we appreciate our friends at Duck Camp as well. Check out duckcamp.com. Thank you to SouthPointDodge.com. Thank you very much to Hardgrove Roofing and hardgroveroofing.com. And also thank you to Flat Creek Wine and flatcreekestate.com. Legendary lifetime Longhorn Jordan Shipley. Thanks to him for joining us. Thanks to lifetime Longhorn and my good friend Stevie Lee for joining us as well, courtesy of Hardgrove Roofing. So we appreciate them. Thank you, Coach, for all the wisdom and levity. Thank you, CJ, for all of the nuggets. We can't thank you enough. Please be safe, CJ, there in Atlanta. And Coach, please have a great holiday because you're about to celebrate Christmas with the grandkids. So Merry Christmas to you and the family. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. Until next time, Hook 'em Horns.